Earlier this year, you might have heard about an infinite money glitch involving Chase Bank. Basically, people were cashing out fraudulent checks using Chase ATMs. Anyone with more than a single brain cell would know that this is super duper illegal. And unfortunately, it seemed like a lot of people did this anyway because Chase is now suing people who thought that they could get away with it. So these people tried to steal money from the banks, but what was probably going on in their heads is that these banks, the government, the corporate elite, they've been stealing from the poor for decades. So if I steal $100,000 from a bank, it could change my life. It could change my family's life. But to the bank, this is just a rounding error. In 2023, JP Morgan Chase brought in $158 billion in revenue. That number is so astronomically high, chances are you can't even imagine what that looks like in your mind. Now, if someone stole $100,000 from this company, it's like you or I misplacing a penny because $100,000 is 0.000633% of $158 billion. It is completely inconsequential to the bank. So although it's stupid, it's super illegal, you could not have possibly gotten away with doing something like this. If they did get away with it though, let's just say I wouldn't exactly feel sorry for JP Morgan Chase. And that's why today I'm going to teach you how to do it the legal way so that you don't get sued, you don't go to jail, none of this stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. Banks do this thing where they'll bait customers into a trap so they can charge more fees and ultimately take money from their customers. But today, I'm going to show you how you can take their bait without falling into their trap. We're going to be using the bank's own policies against them so we can take their money instead. I'm going to go over two different methods. The first method, you're going to need a cashback credit card. A 2% cashback credit card would be good, but a 5% cashback credit card is ideally what you want to aim for. The more the cash back, the more money you make. That means for every $100 you spend, the credit card company will give you $5 back. But here's where it gets kind of crazy. Did you know that you can actually spend money to get that cash back without really having to spend money? This is called manufactured spending. So let's say you have this machine here. If you put $100 into this machine, the machine will give you back $100. Now, since we're doing this with a 5% cashback credit card, we basically make $5 from this back and forth transaction. But let's say you want to make $50. So what you would do is just put $1,000 into the machine. Then the machine will give you back $1,000. Your credit card company will pay you $50. And this $50 is basically free since you didn't really spend that $1,000. So if that's the case, why stop at 50? We're going to put $10,000 into this machine. We get $10,000 back and the credit card company is going to pay me $500. Doing this, you've effectively made $500 appear out of thin air. And the best part about this is that this entire process only takes about 3 minutes of work. And it can be done all online. You just click a few buttons and that's it. In my first couple of months doing this, I've made over $2,000 and the time investment is just 10 minutes a week. And that's just with me repeating this process over and over again. Now, some people might think, oh, spending $10,000 is a lot of money just to make $500. And you're right. But here's the way that I look at it. Since you are getting that money back anyway, the only real consideration should be the time investment. So if I told you, you can make $500 with just 3 minutes of work, would you do it? It would be hard to imagine anyone saying no to that. Secondly, the money that you spend is not technically your money. It's the bank's money because this is on a credit card. So even if you had $0 in your bank account, you would still be able to do this. But if you actually do have $0 in your bank account, I do not recommend doing this at all. And I'll explain why a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to reveal what this super secret machine really is. I mean, it's not really super secret. If you've been watching my content, then you know exactly where this is going. This machine is cash out groups. Cash out groups are companies that buy electronics in bulk. So if you buy an iPhone for $1,000, and then you sell it to them for $1,000, ultimately you make no money from that sale, but you do make money from the cash back. And the reason why this activity is so low effort is because all of the inventory is just drop shipped directly to their warehouse, which means you don't have to deal with packing, shipping, or any of that because the items go straight to the buyer. So when you're buying items to sell, the shipping address that you would enter would be their warehouse. And to make the process even faster, I have their warehouse address already saved on my Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart accounts. So effectively, when it's time to sell items to them, choose which items to sell to them, change the quantity if I need to, add it to cart, and since my payment method and their warehouse is already saved on my account, I just check out super quick. Once it gets shipped out, I add the tracking number on the Cash Out Group's website, and after it arrives, they confirm all the items are there, and I get paid out. Now, the actual process of you buying stuff and then you actually getting that money back could take a few days. It usually depends on the Cash Out Group that you use or how busy the warehouse is. But the actual amount of time that you spend buying items and clicking buttons is literally just a few minutes. So to recap this whole process of what goes on behind this machine, using your credit card, you drop ship items to get your cashback reward. Let's pretend this is a bank. The amount that you spent in our example is $10,000. It will be sent to your checking account. And using that money, you pay off your credit card bill so that you do not get charged interest fees, and the cash back you get to keep. Just as a quick side note, usually I don't actually wait to get that money back. I just pay it off right away just to 100% make sure that I don't get charged fees, but I'll get into it a little bit more later. Also, you don't have to start off dropping 10 grand doing this. You can start off small, maybe starting off with a $30 item just to see how this whole process goes, and then make bigger and bigger purchases as you get more comfortable with the process. Now, you can use the same exact method with any credit card that gives rewards to people. So I know a number of people who use this method to get free flights, free hotels, and things like that. And in my free Discord, I'll include some recommendations for cash out groups that you can use. But in the paid Discord, we have a full step-by-step breakdown exactly how to do this. After all, you are going to be drop shipping these expensive electronics, so it doesn't hurt to make sure that you're absolutely doing this the correct way. And honestly, it's worth every penny. It pays for itself. We have several other ways to make money online, so consider checking it out. But before you commit to this, let's talk about some of the risks that are involved, because there are a few risks, but it is very easy to mitigate them. So the biggest question on everyone's mind right now is probably like, what if you send in $10,000 worth of electronics and then you just never get paid? So these cash out groups have been around for years, but I've personally only been doing manufactured spending for around only 1 year, but I've been using these cash out groups since 2020 because back then we were reselling PlayStation 5s and selling them to cash out groups were the most convenient way to do it, and they paid pretty well, to be honest. Thousands of people did this, maybe even tens of thousands of people did this, and they're still around today. Every single time I've had an issue, customer support, to be honest, isn't instant, but in the end my problem always gets resolved. However, what's more likely to happen is if you send in the wrong item, it turns out they're not buying the item, right? So naturally, they're not going to pay you. Or if you accidentally buy an item past the deadline, you can basically work it out with a cash out group and they're going to help you process a return for the item. But ultimately, if something like this happens, you would get refunded directly from wherever you purchased it from. Another possibility is if the item gets lost during transit or gets stolen during delivery. Now, most of the websites where you would buy these electronics from, such as Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, they're quite generous with their refund policy. So most likely, you're just going to get refunded anyway. Each cash out group might be different as far as their policy with that. I've personally sent in tens of thousands of dollars of electronics, basically hundreds of items, and I've personally never had an issue with my item getting lost or me not receiving a payout or anything of that sort. There's even been instances where I literally send in the wrong item by accident, but then they ended up buying it from me anyway. I consider myself lucky, but that just goes to show you that they are willing to help you and work with you in case something bad happens. Moving on to the next risk. This one is big, however, it's pretty easy to get around, and that risk is getting your bank account closed for basically receiving too much money. The reason why this can happen is suppose you're spending $10,000 to $20,000 a week. That means you will receive $10,000 to $20,000 in your bank account every week. So especially if this doesn't line up with your current spending habits, to the bank, it can look very, very suspicious, when in reality, all you're doing is buying and selling electronics. So to mitigate this risk, you can simply set up another bank account that will be dedicated to receiving money from the cash out groups. You want to be in a position where, worst case scenario, if they close the bank account, you just won't care. And just to be clear, this is specifically pertaining to the bank account that's receiving the funds from the cash out groups and not the credit card where you make purchases from. You can spend as much money as you want on the credit card and they will not bat an eye. It's just when you get that money into your checking account is when they get a little bit sussed out. Either way, from what I've seen, getting your bank account closed from doing this is quite rare to begin with. But just know that it is a risk. It does happen from time to time. Another risk is getting your Amazon account closed. This one is more common. However, it mainly affects Amazon accounts that are brand new. If you're using an Amazon account that you've had for a long time, then this is less likely to occur. But if you do not have a choice but to use a new account, or you do not want to take the risk of getting your main Amazon account closed, then you can make a new one. But you do need to do what's called activity farming on the account so that Amazon knows that you're not a bot. And it's a whole process that could honestly take up to a week. But if you're in Polar Chefs, we have a full step-by-step guide and breakdown on exactly how to do this. It can take a while, but it is such a small price to pay for a lifetime of easy money. But then again, if you've had your Amazon account for a long time and you use it frequently, then this isn't something that you have to worry about too much. I do this on my personal Amazon account without any issues, but just understand that there is a risk and it's important for me to tell you about it. Another risk to consider are credit and tax implications. I'm not a credit card expert and I'm not an accountant. Personally, I have my own accountant who handles all of this to make sure that all the transactions are logged the right way so that I don't get overcharged by the IRS. The last risk that I should warn you guys about is credit card interest fees. And when I do this, I make sure to have enough money in the bank account before making these credit card purchases to be able to cover that purchase. I don't usually wait for the cash out group to send the money that they owe me, just to absolutely make sure I do not get charged with any interest fees. Because if you forget and you're hit with a 24% interest rate fee, then that 5% cash back that you earned is just obliterated. So you don't want to be in that position, and that's why I would not recommend doing this if you literally have no money in your bank account to help mitigate that risk. Cash out groups are quite fast when it comes to sending out payments, at least for the one that I use. But if there is a delay or if the warehouse is really busy, then you don't want to be in a position where you're gonna get destroyed if they don't get to pay you back in time. As long as you understand the risks, this is generally one of my most favorite ways to make money online because it's fast, it's easy, and it's so low effort that I would almost consider this to be passive income. So that was the first method. The second method is taking advantage of bank sign-up bonuses. Very frequently, banks would offer sign-up bonuses like this and like this and like this. And in many cases, this is literally free money. All you have to do is satisfy a few requirements to be able to claim your bonuses. And the requirements would depend on the offer. So for example, in this one from Ally Bank, you need to do number 1, open a checking account with them, and number 2, initiate a direct deposit into the account within 60 days. So that just means you have a 60-day deadline. But as you can see from the screenshot, after the direct deposit went through, by the ways, you can just do this yourself. You don't actually need an employer to do it for you. He got his bonus payment within just 1 week. This is a total freebie for you guys. If you want to try it out, the instructions are right there. Super easy. What I like about this one specifically is that there are no closure rules. So that means you can just transfer both the bonus and the direct deposit that you sent yourself from this checking account back into your main bank account as soon as the bonus hits. And if you want, then you can close your Ally bank account. So basically all you did was just move some money around between 2 different bank accounts and you end up $100 richer. And the thing is that there's so many of these that you can do that we have listed here in our Discord, and some of them pay very, very, very well. And all you have to do is follow a very simple set of instructions. Now, if you do not have access to our Discord, which by the way, is you absolutely should, since requirements, it pays for itself. You would just have to kind of find them on Google. These are examples of checking account bonuses, but the credit card offers are super duper good. So earlier I was talking about checking account bonuses, but now I'm talking about credit card bonuses. Although they're different, they both fall under the umbrella of bank sign-up bonuses. Now, the thing about this is that when you apply for a credit card, there's a chance that it's going to affect your credit score. So taking advantage of credit card offers specifically isn't something that you want to do just willy-nilly. But usually, to satisfy these requirements, it would most likely be something like spend a certain amount of money and then we're going to give you points, or spend a certain amount of money and we're going to give you cash back. And for that, you can easily do method number 1 to ultimately spend as much money as you want to be able to satisfy those credit card bonus requirements without really spending money. If you learned something new, like, comment, do the thingamabobs down there, and hopefully I've introduced you guys to new ways to make money online.